Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Matthew once again. We are back with the 10th installment of the WWF LJN review. So, we are starting the first episode of Series 5. And in Series 5, we are looking at 14 figures. So, right now, I do have 7 figures for this video. But if the video does exceed 35 minutes, I might just break it down and save the last figure for the next video. Since we do have a couple duplicates there. So, per usual, we're going to take a look first at the card figures, and then we're going to dive into the loose figure, and let's begin. So, first figure from Series 5. Again, this is the 1988 release. As a matter of fact, before we talk about the first figure, so in 1988, we all know about the car accident of Adrian Adonis and his death. So, I didn't bring out the card because we already reviewed it in Series 4. So they did re-release on blue card Adrian Adonis once again in 1988. Again, I only had it for Series 5 or Series 4. I'm not going to bring it out again for Series 5. But that was a re-release that you would find in both years. The next figure would be Bam Bam Bigelow. One of my oldest memories of this character is him coming into the ring and doing cartwheels. Especially when you got the old NES WrestleMania video game. And, he'd be walking around the ring and he'd be doing cartwheels. And, he's probably a good 350-pound man. So, seeing a man of that size doing cartwheels at all is kind of unique. And what I like about this card, actually, I take it back. I dislike it because it is an error card. And you're going to find this very frequently. Reason I don't like that, error cards, I don't necessarily believe they necessarily make a figure more valuable. And I personally would prefer to have the actual Bam Bam bio card on the back. So you can actually read and learn about the actual character and not this. I mean, if someone tells me this goes from like a $700 figure to like a $2,000 figure by having that, would that make a difference in my mind? Of course, but theoretically, I would much rather prefer to have the actual wrestler's information on the card, correctly. And if it was really that valuable, I could always go out and, buy this figure again with the error, because I'm sure it comes up every now and then. Aesthetically, this is a fantastic figure. I mean, again, the Bam Bam Bigelow is one of those bulky figures that I absolutely covet. It has a lot of weight to it, and in packaging, it looks absolutely remarkable. And then later on, 1995 comes around, and he makes a movie cameo in Major Pain. Kind of like a little biker guy, and he just gets his butt whooped by Damon Wayans. I'm like, man, that's just crazy. What was it? I want to say Survivor Series 87. I always get the year wrong, but I've talked about in the past where he kind of tag team with like Hulk Hogan and who else was on that team? Man, there's so many people. It was like a 5-on-5 match. It was Hulk Hogan. I want to say Paul Orndorff was one of the guys, and oh man, it eludes me. It's crazy. Like I said, Don Morocco maybe was another. It was a lot of guys, and they went up against like Andre the Giant and One Man Gang and King Kong Bundy, just basically these huge giants. And so Hulk Hogan was just eliminated. You're down to Bam Bam Bigelow going against the last 3 guys I mentioned. I just remember him being outside the ropes, kind of jumping, leapfrogging over the ropes, jumping over. I think he pinned Bundy at that point. Then he came out, pinned a one-man gang, and then it was basically down to him and Andre the Giant. Andre at that point was very immobile, and it was like a 35-minute match, and Andre the Giant was only in there for like the last minute and a half of the match. So, of course, Andre's going to win, but that last part of it was really boring. But the rest of the competition up until that point was really fun, really interesting, and you got to give credit. I mean, Bam Bam really put his full effort into that, to doing battle those last 3 matches, those last 3 guys. Aesthetically, great looking figure. Very playable figure, no doubt. It's just not one of my favorites. Again, he's kind of like Bret Hart, with the hand positioning being as low as it is. He's essentially just a punch-only guy, and you can't really do, clotheslines or body slams that I covet, and that kind of sucks. But aesthetically, with the fire, tattoos, and everything, gorgeous looking figure. Not quite an elite figure. It had a lot of potential. Again, you give him the right fighting pose, this does become an elite figure in my eyes. But from 1988, Series 5, we're looking at Bam Bam Bigelow. One of the most valuable figures of the entire line. And an interesting thing I didn't bring up about this series. Let me backtrack before I look at the next figure. So in Series 5, as you know, in the first few series, what they did is they used kind of like a flesh tone rubber, and they just painted over the tone of the rubber. And in Series 5, they basically used the color of basically the outline of the figure. So Bam Bam Bigelow is essentially an all-black figure for the most part. So what they do, they used black rubber when they created this figure. So occasionally, yeah, there might be a little speck on his nose. This one's in pretty good shape, but for the most part, when you come across these figures, you'll see it in their face, especially. You'll see it in their fists. You'll see it'll be full of black spots, and it detracts from the figure, and it really sucks. This one's an original, but the first Bam Bam I ever bought was from Random Treasures, because I kept seeing a pretty beat up Bam Bam always sell for like $100+, and like, no, I'm not doing that. Let me get a pretty mint figure for, I think I paid like $75 for it. But of course, me being me, the second I got that figure in from Random Treasures, not too long after that, I ended up getting an original figure, and since then I've acquired several original Bam Bams. Same thing with this figure. Honky Tonk Man. Honky Tonk Man, because he's generally a mostly blue figure, they used blue paint. So what's going to happen? You're going to find blue in his face throughout. You're going to find it on his knuckles, maybe some in his hair. It's going to suck because the figure bleeds through like crazy. And here is another issue that I find with these cards. Another error card. You got the Hulk Hogan, or you got the Honky Tonk Man figure with a Hulk Hogan bio card. And you know what? They do that in Series 6 as well. It drives me nuts. They actually do have, obviously, Honky Tonk Man and Jim Duggan, etc. Bio cards out there. But, you really got to get the right card. This one I actually got from a seller in the UK. And I think I got this for like $500 some purchase price. For me, I thought that was an incredible deal. Because generally, when you come across this, you look at this figure on Etsy, you're looking at like $1,250. You find them on eBay, $800, $850, $1,000 easy. And I've said it in one of my videos before. If you want to find solid figures like these for a fraction of the cost, you're basically gonna have to go outside the U.S. You're gonna have to go to Canada. You're gonna have to go to the U.K., New Zealand, what have you. Gonna have to go to these places that you're gonna pay up for shipping, but you're gonna save a lot of money on the purchase price. And I always say the more you buy, the better it is, because that shipping cost is gonna make up for it. Again, one of my absolute perfect figures, one of my favorite figures to have on card. And like the Hasbro, the LJN Honky Tonk Man has my favorite accessory. I don't know, I just really love the look of the figure. I just think the guitar always really meshes well with the figures. And unlike the Hasbro version of Honky Tonk Man, you sit there and you wave this thing, you wave it back and forth like crazy. With the Hasbro, that guitar is going to stay in his hand. With this thing, it's going to go flying all over the place. So you really got to keep the figure pretty stationary if you want to keep it, in his hand. Otherwise, it's going to go flying. But a beautiful figure. This is one of those figures that a lot of people don't like because he's clothed. I've always said I don't mind that they're clothed. To me, I really like the figures because with clothing accessories, it's just more of a design feature. If it was simply, a wrestler with black trunks, kind of like, think of Greg Valentine. It would make the figure so plain, and in my eyes, it wouldn't have much of an appearance to me. So this right here, this is nice. This is, beautiful Elvis look. I love the figure. Not the best pose, but it's playable, and it's much better than most. You can do everything you need to, punch, clothesline, body slam. So, I really have no problems with this particular figure. And that is the Honky Tonk Man. Now, coming from that same seller that I purchased the Honky Tonk Man, I also picked up a Hacksaw Jim Duggan figure. Now, same exact thing that I said with the Honky Tonk Man. You want to get these figures for a fraction of the cost, you got to go outside the continental U.S. because inside the U.S. you're looking at $800 to $1,500 for a blue card Hacksaw Jim Duggan. What I find interesting about this, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and I think Hulk Hogan might be another one. These figures on blue card are actually probably more rare and maybe even more valuable on blue card than they are on black card. And I find that to be insane. So this one, unlike the other figures we looked at, he actually does have his bio card on there, which is awesome. So, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, for me, growing up in, the Hasbro era, I always think of, Jim Duggan with blue trunks and everything. So, for me, thinking of Hacksaw in black, yeah, going back and watching these old videos, yeah, it's a refresher and everything. I understand the look and everything now, but to me, I always gravitate towards the Hasbro blue look. So this to me will always be different. But a good looking figure, great pose. The hand, obviously, because he holds his 2x4, yes, it's understandable. It could be better as far as playability, but it does everything. Again, it does everything you need to as an action figure. It's fun. It looks great. It's a great character, an enjoyable character. No problems with the Hacksaw Jim Duggan figure. And just a beautiful card. And I actually bought this twice. So I bought this one several months ago. I bought this one again very recently, within the last, month or two. So I do have a spare now. And the only reason I bought that is because it came in an acrylic case. I thought it was AFA graded, but it wasn't. It just had the acrylic case, but I might have to sell this one. I mean, it's in pretty fantastic shape. You got very tiny creases, but I mean, nothing that takes away from the value. I mean, this is still, to me, a $500 card easy. Depending on who I sell to, I might just simply ask for what I paid into it. Otherwise, if I try to go to eBay, yeah, I'm going to try to get as much for it as possible. But, $600-700 I think would be fair. Yeah, that would be extremely fair. I have yet to come across a original Hacksaw 2x4. So all the 2x4s that I get, I think all the 2x4s I have are customs. So like this one comes from Random Treasures. And this was one of the first versions I got from Random Treasures. And I say version because this one is a nice and hard plastic 2x4. And recently I bought a few more from them, and I got that in the mail a couple days ago. Let's see, today's Tuesday, so I probably got it in the mail Friday or Saturday. And the 2x4 is flimsy, like it feels like rubber or something. So maybe that's what the actual 2x4 feels like inside the packaging, and they upgraded it. And if that's the case, that's nice because that's as close to the original as possible then. And I think someone told me once that, when they asked about the 2x4, and I said it was hard, and they're like, nah, it should be movable. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't know that. So you learn something new every day. But again, when you look at the figure on the shelf, it just displays so well. And absolutely great figure. Just like the Hasbro. Jim Duggan is famous for the thumbs up, look, appearance. Just a beautiful figure all around. I don't remember Jim Duggan ever being a champion in the WWF, to my knowledge. But I still throw a championship belt on there because, again, I like to have as many figures as I can belted. Most of them that I try to get those nice, beautiful Ram Treasure rubber belts, but some of them are like these little Velcro or laminate type belts. Those work fine as well. I think I saw a little 5-minute or 3-minute promo of him like wrestling Steve Austin in like WCW and becoming a champion. I'm like, I don't know how that worked, but again, I didn't really watch WCW growing up, or really other than a few minutes here and there. So I just kind of came across that recently on YouTube, and it just kind of stuck out at me. Alright, so that's Duggan. Next we're looking at, I would have to say, if this isn't the most important piece of my collection, it's at least very close. And it is the Axe figure. This is another one of those Michael Cardillo purchases. So I mentioned that I got, let's see, what did I get from him? I got, I'm just kind of looking at the shelf. I got Jake Roberts, I got Coco Beware, I got Ted Arcidi, Coco Beware, Jake Roberts, Outback Jack, and I got the Axe figure. Now this one actually is AFA graded, which is awesome. And AFA grading, I think that's their way of saying it's almost or close to mint as possible. So that's pretty special. And for the 5 figures with their acrylic cases, I paid up a pretty penny for all of them. But I think if you were to find this particular figure, you're probably looking at $1,500 to $2,000 on a regular basis. So, I think he really helped me out by me purchasing all those figures from him. I think he gave me a fantastic deal on this. This is just a beautiful figure. And inside, when we actually get to the poster review of the Series 5 figures, the one where he actually has the red face poster, I mean, that one is pretty insane. I absolutely love that. It's probably one of my favorite posters. And this one, I think they still have the, no, it doesn't have the gray face. I don't really recognize that design. It's not the red face in here, and it's not the gray face that you're accustomed to. So recently I just watched the 1989 Royal Rumble on VHS. And I've always talked about that 89 Rumble was like one of my most coveted tapes. I really wanted that, and I finally found it on auction and won. And that Royal Rumble was insane. And one of the things I'm thinking about doing, either with LJN or with Hasbro, is kind of have that VHS in the background playing, and then having like a little toy set up and kind of mimicking the thing, because I think you would be like, fined or copyright infringement for playing that video on your channel. So, but I think if I have the sound in the background, I don't think it really matters or not. And just kind of like replaying that 89 Royal Rumble, I think that would be fun as heck. If I don't do it, but someone else wants to do it, I think that'd be sweet. The Axe figure, again, that has to be, if not my most important piece of the entire collection. It's way up there. And I've got so many Axe figures. I keep buying this figure all the time. And, occasionally I buy them because I want to put them in par lots and resell them. Other times, like recently, I'll send them to my buddy Eric, and he will customize it for me. So, in this case, we bought a pretty beat up one, and we're going to turn it into a Demolition Crush. So that way he can join these cats right over here. Of course, he won't sit with the Demolition tag team from Ram Treasures. He's gonna sit up here with the rest of the wrestling writer figures. So this is easily one of the greatest wrestling figures from LJN. But what is wrong with the figure? That stupid Jesse Ventura hand pose. Everything about this figure is phenomenal. I love the face paint. That whole demonic look is insane. It's perfect. The vest and everything. It's a beautiful looking figure. I can deal with the arm out because a lot of figures have that. That's fine. If he was like a Corporal Kirchner, because Corporal Kirchner has the same pose, left arm out with maybe right arm up like this or something, that would be fine. But because he's got this stupid Jesse Ventura pose, you take a brilliant figure that had a potential to be a top 10 LJN, and now he's probably in like the bottom 30 of my most favorite LJN figures. And I think he'd only be in the top 30 list or top 40 list because of the aesthetics of the figure. But the pose itself makes him like low 30s, maybe even, maybe in the 40 range. So, with so many great figures, with so many great fighting poses, yeah, I could see him not cracking the top 40, and it's a shame. That, to me, was a complete waste of a fantastic figure. And when Random Treasures, when they did their Smash figure, they did the same thing. They just mirrored the Axe figure. So they had, left arm out. And I'm like, I get it. You want to mirror your tag team somewhat like the British Bulldogs, but that kind of ruined it for me. These next two figures, I don't have them on blue card. I do have them on black card. So when I do the Series 6 review, I will show those black card figures. So for now, I'm just going to show the loose figures for the Series 5. And the first one we are looking at is the white shirt Hulk Hogan. Now, white shirt Hulk Hogan, or even the red shirt Hulk Hogan. Oh, I just lost a step there. So when we look at these two figures, I compare these to the SD Jones from Series 3. So what do I mean? So when we look at Series 3, I always say 17 figures. But what I should say is 17 characters, 18 figures. Because I don't consider SD Jones to be a variant. And I don't consider the white shirt and red shirt Hulk Hogan's figures to be variants. Now, if it was like, I don't know, they were both white shirt, red trunks, if everything looked like this, but this figure had like a red bandana and this one had like a yellow bandana, that would be a variant. But these figures are so completely different from one another. They are completely different figures, so no. I don't consider them to be variants. I consider them to be their own unique figure. So, I say 2 figures, 1 character. The thing about the Hulk Hogan Series 5 figures, I kind of place them in line with the Hasbro Series 2 Hulk Hogan. Meaning, they could potentially be the best figures in the entire line, or they could be the worst figures in the entire line. Now, when you think about the Bear Hug Hogan from Hasbro Series 2, it's an unplayable figure, which easily could mean it's the worst figure ever created, or at least the worst figure of that line. I don't have him as my worst. I have Brick Rude as my worst Hasbro figure, but he could definitely be on that list. But, what is Hulk Hogan famous for doing? Bending over in the ring and doing that little muscle thing he does. So, I like that aspect of it. For a display piece, fantastic look. One of the great things that I absolutely love about LJN, that they did so much better than the majority of these other lines, including Hasbro, is normally they're sticking to one character. So, Hasbro, they come out with like Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man. They come out with them in Series 1, again in Series 2, re-released in Series 3. Brought back Macho Man and Hogan for Series 5. Mr. Perfect in Series 3 and 8. Undertaker and Bret Hart in 4 and 8. Undertaker, Yokozuna in 8 and 11, etc. So they basically kept re-releasing these same figures over and over again. And I got it. I get it. You have these superstars. You want to release the characters that that fans are gonna covet and they're gonna want to buy. But when you're a kid, you're growing up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and you want these action figures, you have a Hulk Hogan already. So when you go to Ventures or a Kmart, Target, KB Toys, Toys R Us, basically any toy store you could think of, and you pick up a package, and hey mom, can you buy me this Hulk Hogan? As an adult, you're thinking your child already has a Hulk Hogan figure. Why would I need to waste that money on more Hulk Hogan figures? So to me, that aspect made no sense to re-release the same figures over and over again. LJN, they were so intelligent with the way that they released the figures. A majority of their figures were just simply one and done. Now, you have a couple examples. I'm not talking about variants like Corporal Kirchner with, stubble, beard compared to clean shaven, or the different hearts or no hearts on Jimmy Hart's megaphone. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about purple trunks Tito Santana compared to white trunks Tito Santana, or a Series 1 Hulk Hogan compared to a white shirt or red shirt Hogan. Those are, really your only times you'll ever come across. I'm just kind of confirming, because I think that's pretty much it. The only time that you ever see the same characters, re-released. And Hulk Hogan Series 1 is about as perfect of a figure as you will ever find. Perfect fighting pose. They at least gave this one a little bit more of a bulkiness, where the Series 1 was a little bit more thin. So I like that aspect of these figures. But these were like special releases. These are display pieces, commemorative pieces. I couldn't imagine anyone really wanting to wrestle these. Yes, it would have been awesome to own them as a kid, but to me, I still felt like you would own these you would have these just to say that you had them. But as far as wrestling, you would still use your Series 1 Hogan if necessary. Two absolutely gorgeous pieces. Again, I have them in my top 20 list, but that's because of display purposes. As far as playability, they would probably be much further down the list. Gorgeous pieces nonetheless. So let's see what time we at. We are at 27 minutes, so I am actually going to do one more figure. And that way we'll have 7 and 7 for each of the videos. The last figure we're looking at is Manager Johnny Valiant, or Luscious Johnny Valiant. And I keep saying all the time that I always feel like the managers have some of the best fighting poses. And a lot of managers, they used to be, wrestlers, in their day. Lil Bano was one. And I'm trying to think if I think Bobby Heenan was a wrestler, definitely. I don't think Jimmy Hart was ever a wrestler, but he has a pretty good pose. And Freddie Blassie, I believe he was a wrestler. At least that was what was put out to me before. So Johnny Valiant, honestly, I believe with this look of the figure and with the pose, he could potentially be a top 30 or at worst top 40 on my list of favorite figures. It's pretty much an overall quality figure. Anything special about this? Does really stand out? Not really. With Johnny Valiant, Honky Tonk Man, Jim Duggan, Rick Martel. All these figures that have these finger pointers, Big Boss Man, Slick. I mean, just how often do you see your figures lose their fingers? Either little kids bite them off, or maybe an animal, pet or something, gnawed animal or something. I don't know. And he's got both hands, both thumbs up and pointer finger. I'm like, wow. But still, this is a great looking figure, and I think it's one that I'd actually would use as a wrestler if I had him as a duplicate. I don't think I have any duplicate Johnny Valiant, so for a manager, great look, One of the highlight managers, I think. Other than Freddie Blassie, I think this is probably the most important manager of the line. Now, if you're a collector, I always say try to gravitate towards the figures that come with accessories. So yeah, your Mr. Fuji is going to be on that list. Your Johnny Valiant, your Mr. Fuji, your Freddie Blassie, your Elizabeth figures, of course. But if you want playable figures that you could actually use as wrestlers as well, Freddie Blassie to me has like one of the best poses. Johnny Valiant is a solid figure all around, and I really love the look of Jimmy Hart all around. So to me, this is a key piece among the managers. I don't really have any history with Johnny Valiant. I don't remember anything about this guy. Everything I've learned come from other people that basically have updated me with history and of certain characters. So I don't have much to say about it outside of talking about the figure itself. But that is the first 7 figures of Series 5. I am going to stay down here. I'm going to continue making at least one more video. The goal is to polish off the entire, polish off all these videos. So finish off the next video, which will finish off round, or Series 5, and then make one more video to polish off all of Series 6. I should get that done in one video, hopefully. So at 30 to 40 minutes per video, yeah, probably be another hour down here. I think that'd be fine. Johnny Valiant will close out the first, part 1 of Series 5. Again, everybody, if you have any notes for me, I always love hearing back from you. Love learning the history of different characters and everything. It means a lot. And I'm going to put these guys back on the shelf, pull the next set of figures, and I will be back shortly with the next video. Thanks, everybody.